Welcome to the second episode in a Legendarium series about the Anarchy of the 12th century. In this installment, on Empress of the Normans, we will talk about the life of Matilda, a daughter of King Henry I, who was married to the Holy Roman Emperor at the age of 8, but as a young woman was brought home to be groomed for the succession. In 1120, King Henry I, youngest son of William the Conqueror, lost his only son and heir, William Adelin, to drowning. King Henry I ranked among the most accomplished adulterers in the history of the English monarchy, siring 20 illegitimate children with a dozen mistresses. Yet any of them would be in great danger if they took the crown, as any of their half-siblings could challenge them. So King Henry turned to his only other legitimate child, Matilda. In February 1110, when Matilda had been 8 years old, she left England for Germany with an entourage of Norman nobles and a dowry of 10,000 marks, an enormous sum. To pay this dowry, King Henry levied a tax of 3 shillings on every single hide of land in England. Matilda would marry Emperor Henry V, and her dowry would finance his war against the Pope. She arrived in Liege during March 1110 and met her future husband for the first time there. They traveled to Utrecht for Easter, where Matilda received her dower lands and property. Soon after, she began lessons in German and astronomy with Archbishop Bruno of Trier. After she married Henry V at Worms Cathedral in January 1114, Henry took Matilda to Italy, where he fought the Pope. Some years later, Henry V made her regent of northern Italy, where she became familiar with court ceremonies, receiving delegations, and other parts of medieval statecraft. Yet despite her success in navigating court politics, she had no children with Henry V, who died in 1125. Matilda's father, King Henry, then demanded that she return to Normandy. She brought with her money, jewels, and an ancient relic, the hand of St. James the Apostle. Upon returning to Normandy, she struggled to speak her native language, Norman French, having spoken German most of her life. Yet she would have to learn fast. She remained at her father's side as he dealt with petitions and managed the magnates, leading many to wonder what role Matilda could possibly play in the succession. At the Christmas court of 1126 in Windsor, Henry had the leading magnates of Normandy and England swear a solemn oath to support Matilda as his successor, along with any future sons born to Matilda. He cited her descent from Edward the Confessor through her mother Matilda of Scotland, and William the Conqueror through him, as proof that she was the perfect candidate for the throne, as she combined the Norman and English royal bloodlines. The leading nobles, fearful of the king's anger, swore to support Matilda, but they remained deeply skeptical about the idea of a female ruler. Afterwards, King Henry traveled to Anjou, just south of Normandy, where Count Fulk proved eager to make peace after the Cleto War. They negotiated the betrothal of Empress Matilda to Fulk's son Geoffrey le Bel. The youth would become known as Geoffrey Plantagenet, as his coat of arms included a broom plant called Planta Genesta. When Fulk brought up the Empress's barren marriage to Henry V, her father, King Henry, replied that her first union had been childless because Emperor Henry had died while excommunicated, not surprising since he spent most of his reign waging war against the Pope. This must have relieved the count's fears because the couple was married in June 1127. Matilda was 25 and Geoffrey was 14. Without a trace of irony, the French-speaking lords of England, descended from the Conqueror's knights, became angry at the thought of being ruled by a foreigner from Anjou. The marriage did not go well. Both Geoffrey and Matilda had foul tempers. Even worse, Empress Matilda believed that she took a step down by marrying a count's son after being empress. She complained so much that the Archbishop of Tours personally asked her to stop, causing her father, King Henry, so much distress. Instead, Matilda decided to leave Geoffrey in 1129 and return to her father in Normandy. They endured a dangerous crossing of the storm-lashed English Channel on their way to England. The royal family prayed on the deck for deliverance, and upon arriving in England, King Henry became so grateful that he cancelled all taxes on his English subjects for 7 years. During 1131, Geoffrey pleaded for Empress Matilda to return to him, and in September of that year, Henry held a royal council at Northampton where they debated the couple's separation. The king and council agreed to send her back to Geoffrey, but not before King Henry extracted a second oath from the council to support Matilda as his successor. Things must have gotten better between Matilda and Geoffrey because they had a son named Henry Plantagenet, known to history as King Henry II, in March 1133. A year later, in May 1134, the couple had a second child, Geoffrey. Overjoyed at the knowledge his line would continue through his grandsons, King Henry made his final visit to Normandy in 1134 to visit his grandchildren. Unfortunately, relations between Henry and Geoffrey Plantagenet soon soured, as Geoffrey wanted more land and power. Matters grew so bad that both men raised militias and garrisoned their border fortresses. Yet before a war could erupt, King Henry feasted after a hunt. According to the chroniclers, he died after eating a surfeit of lampreys or too many eels. Time would tell if the succession King Henry planned would come to pass. That wraps things up for this episode of The Legendarium. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And if you've got anything to say, let me know in the comments section. Thanks again for joining me, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day.